Today we'll be talking about the how-tos and the pros and cons of real estate coaching. If you're thinking about being a coach, stick around. Most people think the reason that investors turn into coaches is because of the money, but there's a lot more reasons to coach than just the money. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about why I coach. Now, while these reasons may surprise you, they'll make perfect sense at the end of this segment. I'm often asked, Mitch, if you're so successful, why are you coaching people? That's a great question. Why would a person like myself, who has all the financial freedom they need, still be coaching people? You know, once upon a time, I semi-retired, and I was out there roaming the world, doing whatever it is I wanted to do, but I got bored. It's very hard for AAA personalities to sit down. More importantly, I find that idle men with way too much money and way too much time can find very aggressive demons. So I believe it's important to stay engaged in healthy activities and things that keep you occupied and on the right track all the time. In my coaching business and on my podcast, I get to talk to very intelligent people on a daily basis. This keeps me very sharp. On my weekly coaching calls, I get to talk to people from all over the nation and sometimes all over the world about investment strategies and what's going right and what's going wrong, especially talking about new technology or new events or new laws or regulations. There's always something new to learn, and these people keep me engaged and keep me to the forefront of this business. My one-on-one students are typically very accomplished. One I had over 200 rental units. Another one had over 150 rental units. Another one had sold his real estate brokerage company with over 300 real estate agents under him for a super huge sales price to a very well-known world concern. Now, these are sharp people, and it doesn't take a lot for me to up their game 25, 30,000 a year, if not a month. So I love dealing with all these different personalities that are out there inventing, reinventing, and pushing all the time. And you may not believe this when I tell you, but at some point in your career, if you're successful or successful enough, you're going to come to the conclusion that it's not about money anymore. Now, I know this is hard for those of you out there that have not reached financial independence, but at some point, it's not about the money anymore. There has to be a higher reason for what we are doing. More money is not going to make us happier. It's not going to fix the problems that we have. It's just not going to work. You have to have a higher reason. And so that's probably one of the main kicks that I get out of coaching is I have a higher reason. That reason is to help others become financially independent. You know, Dave Ramsey, they do the primal scream when people get debt-free. Well, we ring the bell over at my office when people fire their boss or no longer need a job and can go on their own. And why is that so important? It's very important to me because I realized the minute that I didn't have to have a job was the minute that I had 2,600 hours a year to improve myself and to become what I was supposed to become. So now that I've gotten to where I want to be, I think it's very important that I help others learn to find their financial independence, even if it's on the most modest level, just so they don't have to have a job, so that now they can devote an extra 2,600 hours a year to figuring out how they need to be living their life, who they need to become, what they're supposed to be doing, what do they need to be an expert at, and so they can follow their dreams and everything that they're supposed to be. That's why it's important, and I get a kick out of that. If you think you're about at that stage where you want to give back, to where you have to have a higher reason, and this episode is connecting with you, please hit that like button and that share button. It'll mean a lot to me. And also, of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Others ask me, if you want to give back, why do you charge money? You know, there was a time I didn't charge any money for my coaching, and no one did anything. Not one person bought one house. I had people burning up my time like it wasn't worth anything, and they weren't accomplishing anything. I went to some of my mentors myself and asked them, I said, look, I'm not getting what I wanted out of this. I'm offering to give away my coaching, and I'm answering the phone, and I'm giving advice, and I'm answering all their questions, and no one's doing anything. And they just said, to get what you want, you're going to have to start charging. You have to set the bar higher. You have to make it harder for people to get to you, so that the people that do get to you will really go out and do something, and then you'll get the juice that you're looking for, Mitch. See, I was looking for people to call me up and say, you know what, Mitch, I want to thank you because I quit my job today, and it had a whole lot to do with what we've been talking about the last 6 months. So when I raised my prices and started charging, I did start finding those people, and I have helped a lot of people quit their JOBs in the last 5 years. So we talked about why. Now, when is it the right time for you to start a coaching career? I say, please be sure that you're proficient and know exactly the strategies that you're willing to teach. Make sure you've been out in the field, that they're proven, tested, and that you know exactly how to do what you're coaching. Also, understand this. Every single business you choose to start will take everything that you have for the first 2 years. So if you think you're just going to nonchalantly start a business on the side and call it a coaching business, you might want to rethink that. This takes thought, it takes commitment, it takes enthusiasm, and it takes energy. And you'll have to learn how to market in a completely different direction. So think about that before you just want to dip your little finger in. It's hard to just dip your little finger into this. Another consideration is, how are you going to coach? Or how is this coaching program going to be set up? Are you going to deliver all your information digitally through the computer? Are you going to build this company so that you can scale it? And when I say scale it, it means that you're really not going to be involved in it. You're going to have subcontractors doing everything and delivering all this educational information. Or are you going to have a boutique coaching style? That's kind of like what I have. Boutique coaching style means you are going to be directly involved, that you're going to handle all your students personally. Now, you'll get a lot of flack from this from the gurus because it's not scalable. But I wasn't in this for the money and the scale as much as I was in for it for the personal reward of helping change people's lives. So I chose to remain as a small boutique company. I may only take 10 to 12 one-on-one mentors a year. I may take 100 to 200 group coaching call people per year. That's not big by any standard in the real estate guru industry. But it's very boutique, it's very rewarding, keeps me engaged, and I help a lot of people get where they're going, and it's personal. These people become my friends. So if you're going to be a boutique coach, and one of the reasons why I like that is I get to use my experience and my intuition. For example, I can listen to a caller tell me about what they're going through with a seller. And I can listen to the tone of that conversation. And I might ask a few questions. Well, what about this or what about that? And my student will answer me and I say, you know what? This is what I want you to do. I want you to go to the store, buy a shovel, go to the back left-hand corner. I want you to dig a 4-foot hole, 4 foot deep and 4 foot wide. And I want you to call me back when you're done. So my student will go get the shovel, they'll go do that, and they'll call me back and go, Mitch, how in the world did you know that that was buried in that backyard back in that corner? And I say, man, I talked to a lot of people and I could tell by the tone of this conversation what this guy was trying to do to you. And see, that's the problem I have with scaling up these coaching things and subbing out coaching. I can't sub out that intuition. I can't sub out that hair on the back of my neck when you're talking to me and I go, I think I know what's going on here. I can't sub that out. That has to come from my 25 years worth of experience. So somewhere along the line, you have to decide, are you going to be a one-on-one kind of coach, or are you going to be a hands-off coach where you're subbing everything out? And I prefer to be the one-on-one coach. That's just my personality. So what are the pros of being a real estate investing coach? Well, obviously there's the money. Second, there's the knowledge, because a coach can learn a lot from his students, especially if he's teaching the students all across the nation. And lastly, the emotional charge you can get from being a coach. You're actually out there changing people's lives. And at some point, most of the successful people I know need to teach for a higher reason. and that's a great higher reason. What are the cons? The biggest con of being a coach is you think it's easy, you think it's going to be fun. It is going to burn an exorbitant amount of time, and it may even take your eye off of things that are more lucrative. If you have a business right now that's humming down the road but requires your attention, it's going to lose your attention if you decide to go into coaching full steam, because again, it will take a lot of time. And the last con of being a coach, if you decide to be a boutique coach, is you're not going to be able to sub anything out. So that business will be you, and it really won't be sellable because the business won't be anything without you. So remember that if you choose to be a boutique coach, you're not going to have a saleable business. If you'd like to experience one of our coaching calls, the group coaching call that happens the same time every week for the last 5 years, please go to 1000houses.com/free-stuff and click on the link that reads recorded Q&A call. And there you'll get about an hour and 45-minute recording of a call so that you can see the ebb and flow of these conversations and get a feel for the tone of these calls. There's no way in the world that you don't benefit from being on this call every week.